What is our common bond truly? Freedom.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse.
And it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else.
The old way is in the certain process of destruction, and a new world order is beating down the door.
I push my fingers into
Hello world, we are anonymous. What we are seeing in the world today, with everything from Trump to Russia to ISIS, pales in comparison to the most important of issues. What we need to be looking at is what is happening with the children. What we do see is that the trafficking of children is becoming an income revenue stream. For organized crime, for gangs. So where they would typically be selling guns and drugs, they're now turning to the selling of children. These gangs and organized crime syndicates also have some families pay a ransom to keep from having their loved ones trafficked as a means of financial support to the gangs and/or crime syndicate. Many people still think human trafficking and child sex trafficking are issues that happen in other countries and to other people, but they couldn't be more wrong. In fact, 83% of sex trafficking victims are United States citizens. It is happening throughout the US in every neighborhood. And it's most likely happening in yours. This heat map of human trafficking activity across the world is one of the tools that is part of DARPA's MEMEX program, designed to help law enforcement officers and others do investigations online and hunt down human traffickers. Victims of human trafficking are frequently lured by false promises of a well-paying job, stability, education, or a loving relationship. Victims can be men or women, adults, or children, foreign or U.S. citizens. While they share the trait of vulnerability, victims have diverse ethnic and socio-economic backgrounds, varied levels of education, and may be documented or undocumented. As defined by U.S. law, victims of human trafficking can be divided into three populations. Children under the age of 18 induced into commercial sex. Adults age 18 or over induced into commercial sex through force, fraud, or coercion. Children and adults induced to perform labor or services through force, fraud, or coercion. The fastest growing segment of those being trafficked sadly is children. With the average age of entry into the sex trade in America being 14 to 16 years old, traffickers seek young boys and girls simply to exploit for profit. But how is this happening here, in our country, on our streets, and in our neighborhoods? While the research on child sex trafficking is still somewhat limited, a national survey done in 2009 showed that crime against teens ages 12 to 17 was more than 2 times the national average. Child sex trafficking is one of the worst crimes against youth because in addition to the sexual abuse suffered, child victims are treated as nothing more than a commodity and used for economic gain.
right here. I got you, baby. I'm not recording him. I'm recording my daughter because this is going to court. I love you, baby.
Families are being destroyed. Children are being emotionally torn apart. In the United States, this all began when President Bill Clinton signed the Adoption and Safe Families Act of 1997. Since then, taking children from their loving parents has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Children are now seen as walking, breathing bags of money for corrupt state governments all over the United States. The US government incentivizes the kidnapping of children by providing lump sums of cash from federal funding to the states.
Going to CPS, trying to work everything out with them, thinking my son might be adopted.
Our children are the most precious people in our lives. We must protect them. In many cases, children are taken from their loving parents for the smallest of reasons, such as eating too much fruit or smoking a joint in their own home. Child Protective Services, CPS, has all been known for massive corruption, the falsifying of documents, statements, and the list goes on.
Now, state police issued an Amber Alert for the pair on Monday after she failed to turn her son over to CYFD. On Tuesday, Bryant went on Facebook claiming she's the victim of CPS corruption.
This is a legal, human trafficking mafia with unlimited power and absolutely no accountability.
You want some juice, Mama? You want to take your juice? You want to drink a little bit right now?
Let her hold her since she seems to be kind of the calmest right now.
Okay. This is a call to all, remove your fear, and put on your masks. Find all of the CPS groups on social media platforms, get involved, do extensive research. Arm yourself with information. If you live in fear of the CPS mafia, then remove your fear, join with others and fight back. We will push to change the system, as long as the CPS uses corrupted methods to destroy our lives.
The Department of Child Protective Services has become a protected empire, built on taking children and separating families.
This is Nancy Schaefer. She gave up her career, and later her life, for the fight against CPS. The details of her murder are very suspicious, and many believe that she was murdered by the CPS for her heroic deeds. Please research her.
This is not to say that there are not those children who do need to be removed from wretched situations and need protection. However, my report is concerned with the children and parents caught up in legal kidnapping. Having worked with probably 300 cases statewide and hundreds across the country, and in nearly every state, I am convinced there is no accountability. There is no accountability. There is no accountability in Child Protective Services.
CPS is well known for massive corruption and criminal acts.
Assault, burglary, DWI, theft, domestic violence, indecent exposure, prostitution, possession of cocaine and marijuana, and selling alcohol to minors. What do all of these crimes have in common? They are just some of the crimes committed by people who work for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. That's right, the agency in charge of protecting Texas children. We found more than 370 employees have a criminal background. Some have direct contact with foster kids. David Mendoza pled guilty to assault with bodily injury to a family member and violating a protective order. He's a CPS supervisor in El Paso. Richard Landon was arrested for indecent exposure in 1997, and in 1994 he was arrested for prostitution after soliciting an undercover cop. He also works for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
Look at that baby. Look how beautiful that baby is. They'll get hundreds of thousands of federal funds, especially they put it on a couple psychotropic drugs, and then they'll adopt it out to somebody.
Over a 2-year time frame, human traffickers spent about $250 million to post more than 60 million advertisements. In the past 10 years, searches for teen porn is moving up to become some of the top searches in Google. Women and children are routinely sold for sex on sites like Backpage and Craigslist. The darknet has become one of the major hubs for illegal activity, including human and drug trafficking. The victims used to be runaways and throwaways, but as it turns out now, are more likely the girl next door. Every day, children and teens are being targeted online. They are groomed, enticed, and manipulated into the dark world of human trafficking, often before they even know what has happened. Over the course of days, weeks, or months, traffickers target a vulnerable child and create a seemingly loving and caring relationship with them in order to establish trust and allegiance. The traffickers coerce their victim into providing them with nude pictures, and once they have this, the exploitation escalates. These relationships may begin online before progressing to a real-life encounter, as it is not uncommon for youth to meet their traffickers willingly for sex before then being trapped and being forced to have sex with others. It is a purposeful, insidious, and all too common process. In approximately 54% of human trafficking cases, the recruiter is a stranger, and in 46% of the cases, the recruiters know the victim. 52% of human trafficking recruiters are men, 42% are women, and 6% are both men and women. Once they have a victim, traffickers use a variety of ways to condition their victims, including subjecting them to starvation, rape, gang rape, physical abuse, beating, confinement, threats of violence toward the victim and victim's family, forced drug use, and shame. The FBI estimates that over 100,000 children and young women are trafficked in America today. They range in age from 9 to 19, with the average being age 11. Many victims are not just runaways or abandoned, but are from good families who are coerced by clever traffickers. If you have children at home, or no children you care about, they could be next. It is foolish of us to think it won't happen to our kids, because it happens to kids just like ours every day. In light of such staggering information, what can we do? How can we, as one person, fight this? John F. Kennedy once said, "Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance." Help fight this issue that is destroying our children and take part in Our Children Matter 50 State Demonstration. June 10, 2017. Mass protests and direct action. The Million Parent March will be giving updates addressing protests and petitions and addressing governments and parliaments around the world. Check the links below on how you can take action. Your child could be next.
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. And we never forget. Expect us.